Good morning, Africans. It's been a pretty fascinating week. What particularly with the passing of South African struggle stalwart, Mama Winnie Mandela. I've been observing a lot of the conversations that are happening on social media in terms of what people are talking about. And what I realize is that people actually know a lot, compared particularly to the times when I was growing up, when Mama Winnie Mandela was actually a brand, a serious brand to be dealt with at that time as she was establishing her brand. I realized that today people know a lot. If you think about the internet, if you think about the world and all of that, you realize that there's actually a lot that's out there that's available. So it got me thinking that perhaps actually being clever and being and knowing enough is no longer enough. Essentially, what is a differentiator, in my opinion, today is something I would actually call self-intelligence. What do I mean by self-intelligence? What I mean by self-intelligence is that as a person, you are very clear about your personal 1 in 8 billion, because that's my concept that I always work with. It says you are 1 in 8 billion. Not a single person is like you at all. And it always amazes me how we find many people who are trying to be like somebody else and conform to some standard, and essentially just trying to be something that they're not. So self-intelligence essentially has three parts to it, as far as I'm concerned. The first part about that is self-knowledge. So self-knowledge is how well do you know yourself as a person? How well do you know how you look like? How well do you know what you feel like? How well do you know about what you sound like? And all the things that make you tick spiritually, mentally, physically, and all the other illies that are who you are. So that's the first part. The second part of your self-intelligence is self-awareness. Self-awareness is then being able to discern how are all of these elements, the way you look, the way you act, the way you talk, who you hang out with, and all of those things, how do they connect together? How do they work? When are you doing what? When are you mad? When are you sad? What ticks you off? What makes you tick? And all of those kinds of things. So are you observing yourself? Do you have research on who you are? Or are you just going around knowing absolutely nothing and oblivious to who you are? So that's the second part. It's self-awareness. And the third part of self-intelligence is essentially self-alchemy. And I love self-alchemy because self-alchemy essentially means, are you able to use the elements of knowing yourself, so the way you look, the way you act, and all of those things, and are you able to use your self-awareness to be able to manage yourself, to be able to create results with you being you? Yeah. So when you're authentic, are you, for example, shouting even when it's not appropriate to shout? Are you throwing a tantrum even when it's not appropriate? But also, are you displaying behavior that is essentially inappropriate to the situation? In essence, what I'm then talking about when I talk about self-alchemy is, are you capable of continuously paying attention and conscious of the choices you make about yourself and who you are all the time? So that is for me the critical three elements of self-intelligence. And I find that if you are clear and you understand all the three elements and you can integrate all of the three elements about who you are actually able to make a difference and stand out as a brand and stand out in your 1 in 8 billionness, such that people are able to recognize you, not just as noise, but as someone that is worth connecting with and dealing with, even if people don't like you, because that's not the most important thing. But the fact that people notice you and people are able to know where to fit you in their social strata and in their consciousness. I think that is actually a more powerful way of being and a more powerful situation for you to be in, as opposed to just being yet another smart person, because that will no longer differentiate you. That is what was on my mind, that I just wanted to share. So I don't want to go too long. But should you want to engage with this topic and want to have a conversation with me, you know what to do. I'm all over social media. I'm on Siba Kalima. Just Google, and then you'll find me. You'll find my Twitter handle. You'll find my LinkedIn. You'll find my Facebook. But you can also speak to me right down here on the notes, because you're probably also watching this thing either on YouTube or Instagram. That's it. I wish you an amazing, self-aware, self-alchemist, chemical day. Enjoy. Cheers.